This presentation is brought to you by the Beljanski Foundation. Over 50 years of research towards curing cancer the natural way.
I'm speaking on disease is never a mistake. It's communication. I'm Jane Goldberg. I'm an oncological psychoanalyst. I'm a psychoanalyst by training, and I have specialized in working with cancer patients over the last 45 years, which helps you to know something about my age. I'm 71, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I think I look pretty good and I feel pretty good. I move my body like I'm still 35. I run, I do yoga, I swim, and so I am living proof that lifestyle trumps genes, because my sister and my mother were both dead long before they got to the age I am today. So lifestyle trumps genes. I have written 8 books. They're at my booth, and you can buy a couple of them if you want. And this is my New York center, La Casa Spa Wellness Center, and this is the view from my Puerto Rico center. And it, in fact, was damaged very severely by Maria. So I did start a GoFundMe platform if anybody wants to donate to me 50 cents or $5 or $50 or whatever works. So I found this phrase in the New York Times last June: get cancer now before Congress cuts your insurance. I think it's better to say get cancer later after Congress cuts your insurance, because then you can learn how to really cure yourself instead of doing all that nasty stuff that we call chemotherapy and radiation. The body operates on a system of checks and balances like the US government. It wants to function healthily and correctly. It wants to right itself. It wants to find its way back to homeostasis. And all we have to do to heal from all diseases is figure out how to help the body to do that. Traditional medicine hasn't helped us much in this endeavor because they have made 2 really big mistakes. The first mistake is that they are trying to address the 21st century chronic disease epidemic with 20th century acute care diagnostic and delivery methods. Big difference between degenerative diseases and acute diseases. Acute diseases have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And at the end, you're healthier. If you're not dead, you're healthier than you were before you got the disease. But the degenerative diseases, which are all of these that are listed here, those are the ones that we're getting today. Those are not like the medieval Black Plague. That's not like the flu. And these are long-term in developing, and they're long-term in getting rid of also. But we have ways. When we get a chronic disease, it's because we've lost the ability on a cellular level to either repair old cells or create new cells. We don't have enough what I'm calling voltage. Some people call it chi, some people call it energy. We don't have enough voltage in our bodies to create cellular repair and new cells. The second mistake that traditional medicine has made is that we are a body-brain. We're both. They talk to each other. They're integrated. They work in synchrony with each other. Sometimes they work in contradiction to each other, but they are in very elaborate conversation with each other. So there is no disease that's a body disease, and there is no disease that is a brain disease. They're all both. Health depends on the body-brain's evolutionary repair mechanisms. There are 3 of them: regeneration, isolation, inflammation, and I know I'm speaking fast on purpose. So regeneration, this guy, he had his tail cut off, and he's going to get a new tail soon. We also have the power to regenerate. We have the power to regenerate eyes, skin. One organ regenerates like crazy, the spleen, it happens to be. We regenerate skin. And when we don't have the ability to regenerate, so for instance, his tail is cut off, if my arm is cut off, I don't grow a new arm. So we don't have an infinite ability to regenerate. But when regeneration is not possible, the body goes to the next evolutionarily developed repair mechanism, and that's isolation. So, oh God, I just hit my thumb with a hammer, but my foot doesn't hurt. Only my thumb hurts. It isolates the pain, it isolates the injury. The reason why I have the picture of the oyster is because pearls form when something happens inside the oyster that is an injury to the oyster. It's usually a parasite. And the oyster, in its greater wisdom, puts a mucous membrane around the parasite and closes it, isolates it from the rest of the oyster, and it forms what we call a beautiful pearl. Inflammation is the repair mechanism of evolutionarily mature mechanisms like human beings or other mammals. And all of these different afflictions, conditions, diseases are diseases of inflammation or conditions of inflammation. So what I'm talking about is, are diseases a mistake? And we're going to go into all of these various diseases if I have time for all of them. So what I'm saying is that what we call disease is really the checks and balances system of the body-brain. They're not really diseases. They're attempts by the body-brain to repair itself. We just have to give it a chance to repair itself. So as a psychoanalyst, I'm very specifically interested in feelings. And I kind of go against the flow in this world because all of the people, and they're usually doctors, physicians, they're not psychoanalysts like myself. And they're all promoting the idea that you have to feel optimistic, you have to feel good, you have to know that you're going to heal yourself. Well, what about all the bad feelings? The bad feelings are getting a bad rep, and I want to bring back the rep of the bad feelings because bad feelings are just as much a part of our psychic being as good feelings. Bad feelings have a useful purpose. So, I say, what medical procedure was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1949? Okay, it was a medical procedure that was going to cure you of all bad feelings. It's called lobotomy. They do it through the eye. Oh, disgusting. So the lobotomy was discovered by a Portuguese physician. But in the US, in the 70s, the research showed that the amygdala is kind of the seat of aggression or more in that part of the brain than any other part of the brain. So we just started cutting out people's amygdalas in the 1970s. So, we're not so good with this stuff. Like, boy, bad feelings. This is what happens to bad feelings when we don't want to have them. They go into hiding. We can call this the unconscious. It's really bigger than the conscious mind. Takes up more space in the brain. The thing about bad feelings is that all feelings are fleeting. They have a neural circuitry that lasts 90 seconds. You can hold on to bad feelings, you can hold on to them for 5 seconds, for 5 minutes, 5 years, or 5 decades. But in terms of the neural circuitry of the body, it has left after 90 seconds. So, is cancer a mistake? Cancer is not the mistake. The mistake is made by the physicians that think that the tumor is the disease. The tumor is not the disease. It's actually, it's an indicator of an underlying body-brain dysfunction. The tumor itself is a life-saving mechanism because regeneration as a repair mechanism has failed. Isolation, the tumor has utilized isolation as the repair mechanism. It's taken all of this debris that is very toxic in the body and tried to put it, like the oyster puts the debris into this one location enclosed by the mucous membrane that becomes the pearl. The body is putting all of the debris into a tumor, and they have done, when they open up tumors, they see lots of waste material, odd things in tumors, like hair and nails and things that don't belong in there. So the tumor, in isolating the debris, the toxic material in the body in one place, that's what is the life-saving mechanism. The problem with chemotherapy and radiation is that not only are you toxic in such a way that the body in its wisdom collects it in one place, but when you start dissolving that tumor rapidly, and there's no better way to get rid of a tumor than chemotherapy and radiation. If you think the tumor is the disease, that's a good thing to do. If you understand the tumor is the manifestation of the disease, then you have just, in dissolving the tumor, you've just put all of that toxic material into the body on a systemic level. So now you're sick from the toxicity that caused the cancer, and now you're sick from the toxicity from the treatment. Research on cancer as a psychosomatic disease is long. It dates back to the 2nd century, Galen, and goes all through the centuries, and this is my theory, the no-exit psychological state. The first cancer patient that came into my practice said, the first words out of her mouth was, "I have cancer, thank God." As an analyst, I said, why? Because analysts like to ask why questions. She said her life was completely untenable. She could not continue to live the way she was living, and cancer gave her the way out to change her life. That was 40 years ago or 45 years ago. She found out she had cancer because she couldn't get pregnant. And then they said, oh, you can't get pregnant because you've got breast cancer. So her oldest daughter, she cured herself of cancer through nutrition, detoxification, psychoanalysis. She became a psychoanalyst herself, and her oldest daughter just got married. So obviously she was able to get pregnant after she cured herself of cancer. Is stress a mistake, or is there an upside to stress? I love stress. We do so many things that are stressful that are really good for our bodies, and our brains. So this is one study of hundreds of studies that show that stress is good for you. So the women who reported highest levels of stress had a 40% lower chance of getting breast cancer. Again, I could go on and on with studies. This is the stress of radiation. I know most people are really terrified of radiation, and I was too until I found out about this. So this is, as you can see, this is either Nagasaki or Hiroshima. So the Japanese know more about radiation poisoning than pretty much any country on the planet for obvious reasons. And they did, after the war, they did a study, and they looked at the people that were exposed to radioactivity. And they showed the people that were in the epicenter of where the bombs dropped, obviously they were killed immediately. They were basically fried from the heat. And then they drew concentric circles around where the area that the radiation was passing through. So far out, the people were exposed to no radiation. Closer in, they were exposed to low-level radiation, and then even closer in, they were exposed to high radiation. The people who were exposed to the low-level radiation have lived longer than the people who had no exposure to radiation. I found out about this technology when my little dog Lily was dying. I was $4,000 into vet bills. They had no idea what was wrong with her. One of my psychoanalytic patients said, oh my God, what's happening to Lily? And I said, you know, we don't know. She hasn't moved, drunk, or eaten in a week. So she said, oh, you have to bring her up to Donna. So I brought her up to whoever Donna was on the Upper West Side, and we did a PMF, pulsed electromagnetic treatment with Lily, which I'd never heard of before. And after that treatment, I put Lily on Lily. Yes, not Molly. I have a daughter named Molly, and I have a dog named Lily, and I'm always getting their names confused. Lily doesn't mind, but Molly probably does. So Lily walked around. She had enough energy to walk. She hadn't walked in a week. And then Donna put a bowl of water on the floor and said, does she want some hormesis water? I said, I don't know, what's that? She put a bowl of water down with a little rock in it, and I said, what is that? She said, it's radioactive. I jumped back. I don't want any, I don't even let the dentist take x-rays on me. But that began a year-long project of research for me that culminated in both a book and a documentary that I did on the therapeutic effect of low-level radiation. It's called radiation hormesis. Hormesis is the phenomenon that when a low dose gives you one effect, a high dose gives you another. With radiation, a low dose heals you. It does everything good. It repairs cells. It makes you more fertile. It makes you live longer. There are over 3,000 studies that show that about radiation. Low-level radiation, high-level radiation, X-ray treatment that they do in cancer, X-rays, that destroys tissue. The other study was a radon study. I have a house in New Jersey. All of the houses in New Jersey have radon, and about 20 years ago, they passed a law that said when you sell your house, you have to have it tested for radon. So Bernie, what's his last name? Bernie, I'll think of his name in a minute. No, not Bernie Siegel. Another, not Bernie Sanders, another Jew. But anyway, he was a professor at the University of Pittsburgh, and it's publisher parish. So he did this study, the largest epidemiological study that's ever been conducted in the US. High radon, low cancer. High radon, low cancer. He repeated the study, and 5 years later, the same deal. He went down in his basement and unplugged his radon eliminator. So we're going to pass this, but anyway, she's having an orgasm, he's angry, and the heart's doing the same thing. Stress is good. Fever is not a mistake. Fever makes us smarter. Fever burns off toxins. It makes us happier. Alzheimer is not a mistake. Alzheimer's, they've been looking for 20 years about the research into beta amyloids. Beta amyloids kills microbes, it responds to toxic conditions, it binds to toxins so that you can eliminate. This is my best one, ADHD. Children can see everything in 1/100th of a second. So when the teacher says, Johnny, get in your seat. Johnny, look at me. The teacher is saying, stare at me, make eye contact with me. And when anybody stares, something unique happens as an ocular event. There's a blind spot near the back of the retina, and when you stare at something, that blind spot gets bleached and you no longer see. So when a teacher is saying, look at me, she's temporarily blinding the child. That's no way to teach. Sugar also, they're moving around because they're sugar addicted. It's 8 times more addictive than cocaine. Sitting, this is my second favorite thing. So when we sit, we are going into fight or flight mode, and no, I'll sit over here. So what's happened is that my hip flexors here are in a position that my body is reading that I'm about to be in danger. And when that happens, then your body goes into fat storage mode. Why does it do that? Because the danger is something's going to happen that you either have to flee or fight. And so when it goes into fat storage mode, it's saying, well, the greatest danger is that there's going to be no food. And if there's no food, I'm going to store fat because then I have the energy to flee or fight. But if I'm sitting at my desk all day, so sitting is really that's why they're saying sitting is the next cigarette smoking. Sitting all day really kills us. Okay, I'm going to pass up heart disease. I'm going to pass up inflammation. Fat's kind of interesting. Fat's an acid problem. Fat, like the cancer tumor, is actually saving your life because it carries the acids away from your vital organs. You shouldn't be fat. You should just be alkaline. High cholesterol is yes. They just arbitrarily change the what is determined as too high of a level. We all need cholesterol. Cholesterol repairs cells. I'm going to skip bone spurs. It's kind of so the remedies here are oxygen, ozone. We do ozone. Y'all have probably been hearing about ozone today. All of these great things that oxygen does. I don't need to go into that. Hydrogen is the new next thing. Hydrogen is going to revolutionize medicine. Everything is going to be about hydrogen in the next 5 years. It has been documented to address all of those diseases. These are all of the important facts about hydrogen. We do hydrogen inhalation at my center. We also give people hydrogen water to drink. Far infrared sauna, salt sauna. We have the only far infrared salt sauna in New York City. Light is great. Wherever you put light, it cures everything. Wherever you put oxygen, it cures everything. Wherever you put ozone, it cures everything. Ozone kills every pathogen known to mankind. It kills cancer cells upon contact. PMF, I mentioned that about Lilly, pulsed electromagnetic field. So that was discovered when the Russians sent Yuri Gagarin into the atmosphere, in a satellite, manned satellite. And he came back. He was only up for like 37 minutes. He came back near death. The Russians said, that we have to find out what happened to this guy before we send the next guy. It was the separation from the Earth's magnetic and gravitational field. Every manned space flight since then has been equipped with a PMF. We do a lot of colonics at my center. All of the holistic people are saying ill health begins in the gut. I think that's probably true. This is a woman who came in. She had colonics. She did an ozone insufflation into her rectum. It stimulated peristaltic movement, and I have this as a ruler because that worm was dead living in her intestinal tract, and she pooped it in the toilet, and you see, it was a foot long. I'm sorry, it was alive in her intestinal tract. The ozone killed it, and then her body was able to expel it. And we do flotation. This is the best therapy for getting out of fight-flight mechanism, which is also called sympathetic unstuckness. And I think any healing practitioner in this day and age that is not practicing energy medicine is actually committing malpractice. So we have these various systems that we do that are frequency scanners. I could go on for hours. And my time has been up for a minute. I thank you very much. Please come visit my booth. Come see my center. That's my center over there, La Casa Spine Wellness Center. And I just want to end by saying I got into this because my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer and did nutrition, did detoxification, and went from being in a wheelchair to playing tennis. 50 years ago, that's what got me into this. Thank you.
Great.